All right, so everybody's been waiting for a long time for the Akimbo to be completed and finished. Jamie Merritt did a outstanding job in just how he envisioned this in his head, and from the early prototype versions to our completed product. I mean, he knocked it out of the park, and having Rock Exotica make it was a wicked smart play. It's a beautifully engineered and crafted device. Um, I'm doing this video. I'm trying to keep it short, but this is one of the devices where you're going to want to read the instructions. It's uber important that you read the instructions. You should always read the instructions with products, no matter how experienced or perfect you think you are. Read the user instructions that the engineers and the really smart people at the manufacturers took the time to write. But for the Akimbo, there's a process that you're going to have to go through every day when you use it. Put it on the rope, and particularly when you're trying it out on a new rope, or you're trying it out on same rope that you climb on, but I borrowed Ian's rope and his is brand new. I've been climbing on my old rope, had the settings for that. So you will have to go through the function test, which I'll demonstrate later on in the video, and how to get it set up. And it might take you some time. You may find that the rope that you own, you cannot get to work with the Akimbo for you. Just so you know, right now I cannot get Yale 11.7 Focus or Blue Moon to work reliably for me. Maybe it's because I'm at the upper end of the weight limit on that rope. But anyway, we're going to go through all that. So this is the Akimbo. Besides sexy looking and everything, one thing that leaps out that is going to make this a great tool in the toolbox is it's super compact. So even when it's extended on the rope in the user configuration, it's got a short overall height. It doesn't have very much gain, even though that term gets used incorrectly. So spar work, it's going to absolutely rock. It's going to absolutely rock as a second stationary rope device to have on your harness, which as things are progressing and we're starting to get into two rope systems, a person's going to want to have a couple different setups on their harness that work both in a moving rope system and in a stationary rope system. So what I did was I blew the instructions up so we could see all that really well. So the first thing, it shows a diagram of the Akimbo. When we talk about the right side of the Akimbo, we're talking about the blue side. Everything's going to the right. When we go to open the Akimbo, we're opening it from the right side or the blue side. Lower bollard, upper bollard, those are where adjustments are made. Okay, there's nothing replaceable on the Akimbo. When you wear it out, buy a new one. The wear points are going to be the wear points. So that's that. So familiarize yourself with where your adjustment pins are, and we'll go over this to see where you're making your adjustments and see, what A7 is or what G3 is. We'll go into that as well. There's our attachment point. Our tending point is right here. Through field testing, people were noticing that if they left on the prototype devices where it had the shackle, your tending carabiner, if you sat back, that could collapse the device. Obviously, that creates problems in a carnival atmosphere. So what Rock Exotica did was the tending point, if you sit down all the way out, and I have this clipped in here, it will pull out. All right, so that'll negate that ability to collapse the device. So read your instructions. We've got our warnings and precautions for use. I mean, the number one is read the instructions. Set the device up on the correct rope. Make sure that it functions test for you and runs reliably before you go aloft and start working. Some general warnings. Yeah, climbing is inherently dangerous. You got to be careful, mitigate those hazards. Don't use your rope near sharp edges, power lines, on and on and on. Read all that. This is a page you can see on the social media posts and everything. A lot of folks just, I guess maybe they didn't have these ropes, but it seems like not a lot of attention was paid to this. These are the ropes that Rock Exotica tested with the drop test, right? There may be other ropes. In fact, there most certainly are other ropes that will function with the Akimbo. They have not been tested yet, all right? So my suggestion is start out utilizing the ropes that are on the list before you start branching out and experimenting, because that's what you're doing. And when you do that, you're putting your own well-being at a heightened risk, right? So they've got this broken out. 3 ropes that are rated that pass for the 220 pounds and 3 for the 286. All right, so what I've got hanging that I've been screwing with for the last little bit here is I've got Focus, which is Yale 11.7 24 strand, same as Blue Moon, same as Poison Ivy, just different color. I've got Teufelberger Fly, I've got Samson Voyager, and then I have Teufelberger Adrenaline. All 4 of those ropes are on the list. The 11.7 and the Voyager are on the 100 kilogram table. The Adrenaline, however you want to say it, and the Fly are on the 130 kilogram table. All right. Even with this gear on, I don't weigh 220, so I don't know why I'm having difficulty getting Focus to work. Just, you know, I could keep tuning it and playing with it, but I'm kind of sticking with in the video. And until I get really comfortable with setting this up and kind of figuring out intuitively what to do, I'm going to stick with Rock Exotica's process of adjustment. Okay? So that page is really important, right? So here in the instructions, they got field of application. This can be used in a stationary rope system, kind of where it shines. It also will work very well in a moving rope system. If you're going to go that route, my suggestion is to have some type of collection plate on your harness. Rock Exotica suggests the Rook pulley, the Hydra, depending on where you get it. But you're going to want to have that collection point to get some separation between your terminal attachment and then your second attachment in a moving rope system. All right? Thank you, Boone. There it's showing what it looks like in a stationary rope system in the stop position. When you go to descend, what you're operating is the upper arm, pulling down gently on it. When you're ascending, everything will be collapsed, getting towed up the rope. Right? Good to go there? Okay. There it's showing the moving rope system configuration, what it's going to look like. Ian will get close-ups on that, ascending, stopped, and descending, how that's all going to pay out, right? So, preparing to climb. Well, the first thing we got to do is open it up, okay? Super easy. Just straighten her out, right? Rope's going to route between this cam, that bollard, and then between that cam, spring cam, and the bollard, and pay out upwards. They've got arrows showing how the rope would be routed through the device when it's collapsed like that in ascent mode. So we got to open the Akimbo. Boom. So in the instructions, what Rock Exotica says is put your upper bollard and your lower bollard to their maximum friction settings. When we tip this guy over, you got an arrow that's small on one end, big at the other, showing you as the numbers increase or the letters go from A to F, your friction increases. Instructions say to start out with everything on the highest friction setting. It would behoove you to stick with that. All right, adjustment to maximum friction. This is where it gets kind of hard to see things. So what I do is I flip it over to the left side or the back side. So on my upper arm, I have to slide this out. The device has to be open too, folks. You're not, this has been done before, so don't laugh. Somebody's had it closed and they're trying to adjust things. Nothing's going to happen. We got to open the device. I don't know if Ian can see this, but on the other side here, I can pull that adjustable cam out, and there's 2 pins. Between the 2 pins, that's the setting you're on. So right now I'm on G on my upper bollard, which is the highest friction setting. I come down here to my lower, and I'm on 7. If I pull it out, move it there. Now I'm on 5, 6, but I'm going to go on 7. All right. So adjust to maximum friction. Now, if the size of the rope that you're using with being on G 7, you can't get the rope in on the upper bollard or the lower bollard, will reduce that setting on that bollard. So you can get the rope installed and get the device closed. All right. Just want the rope to fit snugly in the device. You know, if it doesn't fit, don't force it. Okay. So then we install the rope and get ready to conduct our function tests. So the right side of the akimbo is facing us. When we get it installed on the rope, we get it installed on the rope correctly. We're not going to start climbing yet, all right? And as we talked about a second ago, make sure that the rope just fits snugly in there. Close the device. We're ready to do our function test. I'm going to leave this handy. All right, so preparing to climb. You get the akimbo on there, okay? Tie a stopper knot in the bottom of your climbing line. It's a good practice. Connect to an oval carabiner, locker, all right? And then from a safe height, so you don't got to go high. You can conduct this function test just a few feet off the ground, and I recommend that you do that. So from a safe height, they say place increasing amounts of body weight in the akimbo, including a bounce on the device. If the akimbo slips along the rope, tighten your friction settings. Well, obviously, when we're starting out with maximum friction and we're selecting the right rope, we can't go any tighter on our friction. So the adjustments that we'll be making will be reducing friction. I wrote this down because I'm not smart. I have to remember. Rock suggests starting with the lower bollard first when you're reducing friction. Because what we're looking for is that's the resting, how the device is open like that. That's in the stop position. When you bounce on that, you shouldn't creep down, right? That'll create issues for you later on the tree, right? So that's your loading and function test. So once the akimbo sustains your full weight, including a small bounce, gently depress the upper control arm. I'm getting ready to move over to the ropes here. I just want to go over this paper side first. If when you're pulling downward on this, if you get really close or you're touching, you've got too much friction. So the first place you want to reduce friction according to the instructions will be on the lower bollard. If the akimbo descends correctly, perform a vinyl bounce. If you've got no slippage, well, let's check it out and see how she's going to work, all right? Always test the akimbo before each use. That's critical because you might have raining tomorrow. Now we're climbing on a rainy rope, even though we had it dialed for Teufelberger fly. Well, now that that rope's, completely saturated with water, it's going to perform differently. We might have to change settings on the akimbo in all likelihood. Whenever you switch to a new rope or a different rope, you're going to have to go through this whole function test. And what you're going to find, folks, is whatever ropes you have at home, there is a possibility you might not own a rope that's going to work well for you with the akimbo. That there is that possibility, so keep that in mind. I really wanted Focus to work for me. I'm going to make it work one way or the other. I just haven't figured out the settings to do it. I'm not as smart as Jamie. He did do a good video on a little bit more intuitive figuring out the settings to get maximum performance out of this device. Okay, so there we are there. Everybody's good to go there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move over with this set in the maximum friction, and I'm going to put it on the fly and go through the process of how to get the akimbo ready to go for use, okay? All right, so that's the akimbo installed correctly on the rope, right? Carabiner is going to connect to your central attachment point in your climbing harness. There's our tending point, upper, lower. Got fly in here, and it's on the maximum setting. So I know I can't get any more friction on the akimbo because that's what's built into the device. All right, so there, the akimbo is holding my weight. I'm bouncing, it's not moving. So I'm good to go, you would think, right? Well, I know because I've got maximum friction on this, I'm going to have a good bit of friction on ascent. That's not desirable. But so now to descend, so I'm not coming down. I've got the device. That's not correct, okay? So we don't want that cam touching. So I know that I need to decrease some friction, and following the instructions, I'm going to do that by decreasing friction on the lower bollard. So even though I know that for me, G3 is what I want, I'm going to work through the process for all of us. So I'm on G7. I'm going to pull out and go to G6. See what that does for me. There, I'm just tracking the climbing line into the device, closing the device, reconnecting my carabiner. So it's holding me, bounce test, it's good, but I'm still to descend not correct, right? So I'm going to go ahead and move it to where I know it needs to be for me. And once you get this process kind of down in your head, it's not a big deal at all, but it's important to do. So I'm looking in here and I'm turning till my cam is at G3. So the two little pins on that bollard are splitting the difference on number 3 there. So I'm still on my upper cam is still in G. All right, I'm bouncing. I got a tiny bit of creep, okay? So I'm gonna bump my lower to G4. But what I wanna do before I do that, I'm just gonna check this for descent control. All right, so I'm creeping a bit, so I'm gonna go G4. G3 was working yesterday. Ate too much maybe? All right, G4. All right, bouncing, I like that. When I go to descend, I can descend under control. All right, I got a little bit of creep, but I'm gonna go ahead and climb up a bit. So now, I'm gonna check for descent. I'm gonna stop, I'm gonna bounce. I'm happy with that, okay? I'm gonna go one more setting on this and I'm gonna see, am I happy with my ascent? Am I happy with my work positioning stoppage? And then when I bounce test, but what I don't wanna have happen, I don't wanna be much closer than that personally for descent. You know, I'm actually good to go with that, but I'm gonna tighten it up just to show you. So we went to G4. I'm gonna move it to G5 real quick. They're at the G5 setting. So you see how much closer the upper lobe is coming before I start descending? So for me, I'm gonna run G4 today. Like I said, G3 was working great yesterday. I don't know what I did wrong. So that's that. So this device is set up. See how close we are? So on fly, I'd be running this in G4 today. Makes sense? All right, so all that being said, I'm gonna switch ropes. And I'm gonna leave this on G5. And I'm gonna just put it on, I'm just gonna put it on the Adrenaline. So the first thing, the rope should fit snugly, right? But I shouldn't be forcing anything if we remember our instructions. I'm gritting my teeth to get that in there, but it fits snug. I got it in, it closed. So just, instructions tell us to go to the maximum settings. I'm not gonna do that because it was just working on that rope, so why won't it work on this rope? Well, we're gonna see what happens. So, first part of the function test is down low. Right, that's holding me, and I'm bouncing. Okay. So next part of the test is to check my descent. So see, I'm touching, so that's incorrect. I have either too much friction on the lower and or combination of too much friction on the upper, but because I'm following the instructions, once I take this off to adjust it, I'm gonna reduce friction down here on the lower bollard. Remember when I said I had to grit my teeth a little bit to get it in the bottom? So in my limited experience running the new Akimbo, I knew right out the gate that I was a little bit tight on the bottom. So I'm gonna go G4. It's like playing fucking Battleship here. That's holding me. Whoa. See, I don't want to be that close. So I'm going to go one more setting down on this. So I'm going to go down to, where are we at? 4. So I'm going to go G3. Hold me good. So there's a little bit of drag. So what I'm going to try now is I'm going to leave that lower bollard setting, and I'm going to reduce some friction on the upper here and just see what happens. Because I don't know what's going to happen. You don't yet. So I'm going to go into F. Because now I know by doing that, my friction on ascent is going to be a little bit nicer. And if it's still holding me for work positioning, yeah, see, that feels better already. Let's see what's going to happen. Okay, not getting any movement on the bounce. Boy, I think I want to open up that gap a little bit. So I'm going to reduce friction now again on the bottom. Because in my head, I'm thinking that's going to be perfect. But that don't mean anything. So I'm going to go to 2. So you can see when you're trying to figure out for a new rope, it's going to be a process. And you can also see that you can't, well, I don't want to use the term can't. If you think that you can just switch from rope to rope without making any changes, that's not going to work. All right. All right, see how that works now. I'm happy with my low function test. I'm going to climb up a bit and do a little bit of descent and see how it reacts. All right, come down some, stop, bounce. So, and that, you know, I could probably tune that a little bit better maybe. Change that upper bollard, reduce friction on an end, add some friction on the bottom, see how that performs. But you get the idea of what we're looking for. That'd be your, even though I'm not fully weighted, that's kind of exaggeration of your work position. When you go to descend, we don't want to be there. Right in there is acceptable for me. Okay.